Okay, so, as I was saying, this question right here is pretty much split down the middle here for you guys. Okay? It's hard to see those numbers, but I think it's 10 people chose true and 12 people chose false. Okay, so that shows me that there's a definite issue here. There's obviously, if half the people think one thing and half think the other, that's a problem. Okay? Now, I'm going to just go ahead and tell you that the answer is false. Okay? So you 12 people that decided to choose false, you would be correct. Now, let's go over why it is false. Okay? So, first of all, I want everybody to write this, and we're going to call this number 1. Okay? This is basic ratio language. This really isn't even a learning target. It's more just a basic understanding of ratios and how ratios can become equivalent. Okay, and I want you all to write this and put a star beside it or something. Put number 1 because we're calling this number 1. Okay? We're going to say this. You can never add or subtract. Subtract to get equivalent ratios. Ever. Right, guys? Never, 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 never. Can't do it. Okay? Now, as you guys are finishing that, be listening. I'm going to give it a little bit different example up here. I'm going to show you. I'm going to give you these two. I'm going to give you these two ratios or fractions, either way. Now, would you all agree that I'm adding 2 and I'm adding 2? Yes. Are those two ratios equivalent, though? No. Remember, I told you there were 3 ways to check for equivalency, right? Actually, 4. And the 4th way would be if you can tell exactly what you're multiplying by to get from 2 to 4 and 3 to 5. So if you were thinking about it in that perspective, what are you multiplying by to go from 2 to 4? Times 2. Is 3 times 2 going to give you 5? No. So there's the first way. Okay? Now let's go through the other ways of checking for equivalency. We could use cross products. Right? That'd be 12. That would be 10. So right there it proves they're not equal. Right? Okay, we could divide them because all ratios are division problems. I could get 0.6 repeating here. I would get 0.8 here. Are those the same? No, they are not. And finally, I can simplify them. But are those two ratios already in simplest form? Yes, they are. So I just proved to you that you can never add or subtract to make equivalent ratios, ever. You can only multiply or divide the top and the bottom. Okay, so there's no confusion. This right here was just numbers I made up. I was just proving to you that you can never just add. I was just proving to you with a basic example. Everybody got that? I just made those numbers up. 2 to 3 and 4 to 5 are made up numbers. I was just showing you adding 2, and showing you that they're not equivalent. Okay? So, let me show you exactly what my expectation would be on this question right here. Okay? I know that the ratio originally was 18 boys to 15 girls. Does everybody agree with that? Now, I need to check this. Now, if you would have said this right here, I'd say, okay, that makes sense. You can never add. I would accept that. But I always say, why not only say that, but then just give me it. Give me exactly what the new ratio is. What is the new ratio of boys to girls after you've added in those new students, Matt?
22 boys to 19 girls.
22 boys to 19 girls. Now, you guys know 4 different methods of checking for equivalency, so let's do them now. Okay, the first one will be cross products. Anybody got a calculator?
Oh, I do.
Ellen, can you go ahead and do 15 times 22? Eddie, can you do 19 times 18, please?
330.
So you do cross products, you get 330. When you do 19 times 18, what do you get?
342.
342. Are they the same product? Absolutely not. If we simplified them, if I simplified 18 and and 15, I know they both have a factor of 3, right? It's going to be 6 to 5. That's in simplest form. 22 and 19, that's already in simplest form. Are they the same simplified ratio, guys? No, they are not. Okay, and the last method is I could just divide them. This one would be 1.2. This one, 22 divided by 19, we get 8.
1.157.
That's fine. That's enough, but they're not the same. So I just proved it. Not only do I know, okay, you can never add or subtract, so that absolutely makes it false, but then I just went ahead and checked it and got the original ratio and compared it to the new ratio, okay? I could also find unit rate, right? I can say, okay, let me do 18 and 15, so 18 boys and 15 girls, and I know, okay, how many boys is that per girl? And then do the same thing on this one. See if it gives you the same unit rate per girl or per boy, however you want to do it. Does everybody understand that? Okay. Put up here. Okay. First thing you do whenever you're given this scene, we always identify the what?
Ratio.
Ratio. We have to identify the ratio, that fake ratio. Now we should know this, but how many pieces of information does every ratio give you? Yes? 3. It gives you 3 pieces of information. It obviously gives you the 2 pieces that's given, but there's always going to be a 3rd piece that it's going to give you, assuming it's a total like this. It's one of these kind of situations. Okay? All right. So what this means is, since it says the ratio of tables, I know that that's the first thing given, so that's the first number. So that means there are 4 tables. Okay? Then it says the ratio of tables to total furniture. That would go with 9. So that means I got 9 total pieces of furniture. Okay? So we need to figure out how many chairs. That's the 3rd piece of information that we have to decide. So I look at this and say, okay, well if I got 9 pieces of furniture, and I know that 4 of them are tables, how many do I have left to become
5
chairs? 5 chairs. Has everybody got that? Okay, that one's a little bit different. Usually it gives you a parts of part, and you have to identify the whole. So you had to be careful. Some of you were putting 13 total, I saw. Okay? Don't put 13 total. Another thing to be real careful of, for this specific example, everybody please hear this.
Got it.
Normally we just put the first letter to the word, but since we have a T and a T, you might get those confused. So maybe put TA, or just write the word table and write the word total out. Okay, so did everybody see what I did there with my edge pieces? Good. Now, this is what I'm talking about. And this is what amazes me, because there's still some of you that aren't doing this, and that's a problem. This is a problem. I see people just throwing numbers, 4, 9, and just put numbers on there. You're going to miss it if you do it that way. Just trust me. Okay? The first thing you should do is look at your real info, which is always that if-then statement. If there are this, then how many of them, or how many of these are there? Something like that. So you look at, you don't even worry about the number. You just kind of say, okay, what are they giving me? What information? Who's number 3? Why are we hitting it over there? Okay. Okay, just stop. Okay, so it's total is going to go there. Total always goes in the bottom, right, guys? And since they gave me a total, I know that that's going to be part of this proportion, right, guys?
Yes.
Then it's comma. It's going to say either how many chairs or it's going to say how many tables. Depending on what it says, that's going to be my label. Since it says chairs, I'm going to be doing the proportion that shows the ratios of chairs to tables. Now, as I've taught you from the beginning of times, since we started doing this, the first ratio always comes from the what? The edge pieces, or we could call them the fake information, the FINFO, whatever you guys want to call it. It's all the same thing. Okay, the FINFO, that's fine. Okay, so now you just go up and you say, okay, what is the ratio of chairs to total? It is 5 to 9. Everybody agree?
Yep.
And then I just plug in what other piece of information they gave me, which is right there. They told me, okay, well, what if there was 36 total pieces of furniture? Now, probably a lot of you are cross multiplying and dividing, and that's fine. Just do understand that we've got to know, okay, we are multiplying by 4 to our number of total. So doesn't that mean I'm going to multiply my number of chairs by 4 also? To give me 20 chairs. Now here we go again. There's my answer, okay? But if I want to figure out also the number of tables now, wouldn't I just do 36 minus 20?
Yeah.
It Yes, you would. So, based on that right now, I'd like everybody to please do number 2 if you haven't already. So, obviously, we all got this one right, this number 2 here. We all got 24, but there were a couple of you that didn't get it done, so you need to be watching. Okay? Again, by the way, just so you guys are all aware, if you know that if you're still struggling with this after this problem, we're not going to do any more like this here in a minute. Go back and watch the learning target number 6 and 5 video. I did several questions like this near the end of the video. You don't have to watch the entire thing, but there are several that talk about boys to students, marbles, if you guys will remember, that you can do. Everybody, once again, please listen to the strategies that I'm giving you. Okay? We've already done our edge pieces. We've already, what I call, set the stage. And we're going to set it even more here by putting on our labels. Now, the question says, this is my real information, the question is going to give us an amount of chairs, and it's going to ask for a number of tables. Well, that makes it easy for us because I know I'm not dealing with that number. So therefore, I'm not dealing with that label, right? I'm saying, okay, I am comparing chairs to tables. I am comparing chairs to tables. And I'm putting TA because I don't want to be confused with total. This ratio on the left is my fake ratio, as I've been saying. That always comes from up here in your edge pieces. I know the ratio of chairs to tables is 5 to 4. And then I just fill in one of these two. I'm either going to know the number of chairs or I'm going to know the number of tables. Okay? And that's going to give me, that they gave me 30 chairs. So I say, okay, well, what am I doing to my number of chairs? Times it by 6. What do I have to do to my number of tables? And that's going to give me 24 tables. Now, could I find the whole from that? How many total pieces of furniture there are? Sure, 54, right? Adding them together. That's not necessary because it doesn't ask for that. Okay? By the way, one more thing here. This, guys, please hear this. Since it is a part-to-part, chairs to tables, can it also be written as tables to chairs? Absolutely, it does not matter. The only time that it matters, the order, is when you know when you're being put in a total into your proportion. The total always goes on the bottom in the second term. Everybody got that?
Yes, sir.
And you understand what you did. Okay, the first thing you should have done is edge pieces. And the reason we can do edge pieces here is because I know, okay, if I shoot 15 total free throws, so that's how many I shot. There are 2 outcomes to shooting a basketball. They are what?
Make and miss.
Making and missing. Okay, so we know that Mr. Zenker, he was making 3. That means that there were 12 that he missed, right? So that's where we can start. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do my proportion here. Again, we don't put any numbers on it until we put labels on there. Just trust me. It's going to help you. And you kind of look at the question. The real information is right here. And it wants to know, how many free throws did he shoot? Okay, now I know it used a little different word. But wouldn't, if he shoots the ball, would that include both misses and makes? Hello? Yes. So we know that total is one of the 2 labels. Total is one of the 2 labels. Even though it doesn't say total there, it's saying all the free throws he shot. That would include makes and misses. Then you just look and see what other information they gave me. Well, they gave me makes and makes. By the way, notice I'm spelling the word out because M&M, it would be, you wouldn't be able to tell which is which. Okay, now we're going to build from our fake ratio. I know that Mr. Zenker made 3 out of 15 total. Okay, now I'm going to just put on my real information. This is where the mistake happened. A lot of you didn't realize you're trying to put 72 here. It didn't say he shot 72 total shots, did it? Did it?
No.
No, it said that he made 72. So it's got to go line up with the label. This is your X value. We're trying to figure out how many total he actually did shoot. Now you could have done it cross multiply divide, or you could have recognized that you're multiplying by 24. Multiplying by 24, that means that Mr. Zenker took a total of 360 shots. Okay?
It's kind of funny when you think about it.
All right. Now, right now, I just want you guys all to know that this is learning target number 7. You watched this video over the weekend. Okay? And it's something that, you know, it's one of these things that I'm going to make you do an extra step on 2 questions on this test that you don't necessarily need to do. And I'll show you what I mean. Okay? Right here is the key word, so be Be ready for that on the test. If it says use unit rate to solve, then you better use unit rate to solve. Everybody got me? So, if we were doing this, if those directions that's highlighted in yellow, if that wasn't there, let's think about how we would do this. We would start with a proportion, right? What would be the labels on that proportion? Miles and hours. Now what would go on top? We always put miles on top. We use it as a rate, right? Miles and hours. Now what's my fake ratio? Right here, right? We know that my truck can travel at 240 miles in 3 hours. So then we just figure out, well, what's our real information? What piece of real information did they give us? And then we'd put 8 there. And then we would cross, multiply, and divide, and we'd get an answer. Everybody agree with that? Do you guys know what you're doing to go from 3 to 8?
No.
Okay, so what I want to show you is that this is another strategy. And you're doing it, you're going to be doing this. Well, if you remember from the video, I went over it on several problems on Learning Target 7. So if we do this and you guys get confused and you're still a little struggling, like, I don't want to miss those 2 questions, go back and check out Learning Target number 7 video and see what I mean, because I explained it there. Okay? As I said, if we were doing it this way, we would cross, multiply, and divide. But I want you all to know that if those instructions right there in yellow are on the question, you are not allowed to do it this way. Because specifically, you have to find a unit rate. Did we find a unit rate? Hello? No. Now what the idea is if you can find a unit rate, that means you want to figure out 1 hour. Is it easy to go from 3 to 1? Is it easy to go then from 1 to anything? That's the whole point of using unit rate to solve, right? That's assuming you guys don't know cross, multiply, and divide, but you do. But if you didn't know it, wouldn't unit rate be a very good method to use? Let me show you what I mean. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with a proportion. We're going to get miles. You all right? Miles and hours. Now since we're doing a unit rate, guys, we're going to figure out how many miles my truck will actually go per hour. So we're going to start with our fake ratio. We did this in chapter 4, just finding basic unit rates. Okay. What am I doing to go from 3 hours to 1 hour?
Divided by 3.
So what am I going to do to 240 miles?
Divided by 3.
So that means that my truck is traveling at a rate of 80 miles per hour. Okay? Everybody got that?
Yes.
Well, now that I know that, is it easy to figure out how far I'm going to go in 8 hours?
Yes.
Sure. I'm just going to do another proportion. If you guys can remember back to the review sheets, there was a question about basketballs, the cost of basketballs, remember?
Yeah.
I had you figure out the cost of 1 basketball, and then you can figure out how many basketballs you want to buy. Okay? That's the same as unit price, isn't it? Now this isn't unit price, but it's using the unit rate, but it's the same principle. So we know that we're multiplying by 8 to then multiplying my hours by 8, so what do I got to do to my number of miles? And that's going to give me 640 miles. So I know that's how far I can travel. But does everybody see the difference between the two? The difference is going to be highlighted in green here in a minute. Right there. That step is required. Did everybody hear that? That step is required, so make sure you do it. Okay? Again, this is Learning Target 7. If there's something that you still don't get, let's figure it out. Okay? Now this next one, I'm going to have you do it here in a minute. A boat can travel 60 miles on 12 gallons of gasoline. How far can it travel on 100 gallons? This right here would be your real information. So would it make more sense to figure out how many miles per gallon in your unit rate, or figure out how many gallons per mile? Yeah. Why? It's giving us a number of gallons. We want to get this to 1 of whatever that is. Because then I know if I can figure out how many miles per gallon, 1 gallon, then I can just multiply it by however many gallons I want to know about. Okay? Go ahead and do that. Okay, so here's our answers. 500. Nice job. Everybody got it right. But let's understand something, guys. It's like you guys are kind of overthinking this, I think, some of us. It says you use unit rate to solve, but it's the whole thing like unit price. If I can figure out, if I know that 7 oranges costs $4.80, if I can figure out how much 1 orange costs, then I could figure out exactly, no matter how many oranges I want to buy, I can just multiply it by the unit price, right? That's the same thing here. Since we're trying to figure out how far I can travel on 100 gallons, if I can figure out how many miles I can travel on 1 gallon, then I just can multiply it by however many gallons I want to figure out. Okay? So, really, you're doing two proportions. I'll go back to this one up here. I don't know if I said this. I meant to if I did. But everybody look up here. I did a proportion there, right everybody? Okay, it's going to be really hard to see. I did that proportion to find the unit rate, and then basically what I did is I took the unit rate and I did another proportion. So it's essentially two proportions, right? So we start here. I'll do it in two separate ones this time. You can do it just in 3 ratios like that. Just understand what you're doing. So we start here, miles and gallons. I know that this boat can travel 60 miles on 12 gallons. I want to figure out exactly how far it can travel on 1 gallon. Okay? And that's going to be dividing by 12. Dividing by 12. That means that this boat can travel 5 miles in 1 gallon. Now, I'll show you this and then I'll erase it and show you a different way. If you want to just simply go like this and attach your second proportion to that proportion, that's fine. As I was walking around, a few of you did it differently the way I've been doing on review sheets, where you basically said, okay, there's my first proportion. I know my unit rate. Now I'm going to take that unit rate and I'm going to apply it to whatever the real information was, which in this case was 100 gallons. Then I know that I'm multiplying by 100, multiplying by 100 to get 500. Everybody see that? Okay. Alright, so you know that whenever you're doing unit price, as we do on any better buy question, we've got to do proportions, right? So we're going to set up our proportion. Because we're doing unit price, what has to go in the top? What label? Money, right? Money, money. Okay, and then in this case, we're talking about plums, so we're going to put plums on the bottom. Now, just a word for you guys to go off of tomorrow. Since we had plums and pears, they both start with P. It's not a bad idea to make it PL, and then this could be PE or just P. Just as long as you're not having 2 P's, because then you can't tell which is which, okay? So I got $2.43 for 9 plums. I want to figure out the unit price and figure out how much 1 plum costs. So I'm dividing by 9. Dividing by 9. What does that give me for a unit price? RN? Gives me 27 cents. And which is what you guys plugged in. This one here, do the same thing. We put our money, money. Gotta have labels on there. Pears and pears. Okay. I know that it costs 93 cents for 3 pears. That means that it costs 31 cents for 1 pear. Right, guys? Now, what does that mean? Well, that means that now you know how much one of that costs. So if I know I want to buy 12 plums, wouldn't I just take the 27 cents and just multiply it by 12? Now, just so you know, I could set up another proportion. I could go like this and say, okay, that's 1 plum. Okay, if I want to buy 12 times 12 times 12, but you don't have to do that. You can just recognize that it's 27 cents times 12, which is, anybody do it? Yes? 25? 24 cents?
Yeah.
Did you have to round that? Okay, and then up here I'm going to do 31 cents. I'm going to multiply it by the amount of pears I'm getting, which is 5, which I get 155. And obviously, since we're finding a total, we're going to add those up. 4 plus 5 is 9. 2 plus 5 is 7. And then 3 plus 1 is 4. $4.79. If you are somebody that felt like you were struggling on that particular skill with the tables and all that stuff, you could always go back and watch the Learning Target number 7 and 8 video, or the Learning Target 8 video. There was actually this specific table was there, right? Remember the grocery store ad? Learning Target 8, right? Go. Good. Well, if it's going to help you, do it again. I'm just giving you the option that this is Learning Target number 8. So be ready for it if you didn't do it right tonight or today. Okay, because you're going to see it again tomorrow. Okay, so this is a better buy question. You're going to see one just like this on the test tomorrow. Exactly like this, probably. So be ready to roll. Okay? A 16-ounce box of mac and cheese at Walmart costs $5.60. That's one ratio, correct? Then I know that Kroger is having a sale where they can get the 20-ounce box for $6.20. I want to figure out which one is the better buy. So what I want to do is I want to figure out the unit price. Remember? That is the cost per one of whatever the item is. And in this case, we're talking about ounces. So that means we always got to put money on top, ounces on the bottom. Money on top, ounces on the bottom. Do the same thing over here. Money on top, ounces on the bottom. Money on top, ounces on the bottom. Now I'm doing two proportions because I have two separate stores. I'm trying to figure out which one's better. This one on the left over here, this one's representing Walmart. This one on the right is representing Kroger. Right, everyone?
Right.
So now I'm going to put in the initial ratio that's given up there, and I know that it's $5.60 for 16 ounces. Since I'm figuring out which one has the better deal per ounce, that means I know that this is going to be the unit rate or the unit price, so the cost per 1 ounce. What am I doing to go from 16 ounces to 1 ounce? Divided by 16. So what do I got to do to this one? Divide by 16. And that, what does that give me?
35 cents.
35? 35 cents, right guys? Okay. Now over here, we do the same thing for Kroger. I know that Kroger, it costs $6.20. And I can get a 20-ounce box. So I pay a little more, but I'm getting a little more also. So figure out the unit price for this. Divide by 20. Divide by 20. What is the cost per ounce over there, Aryan? 31 cents. Okay. So there you go. Obviously, which one is going to cost less per ounce would be Kroger, right guys? Absolutely Kroger. So there it is. Okay?
So people could like try to eyeball it.
Okay, now for this part 2 of this, you're going to have to determine how much you'll save per ounce by choosing the better buy. So, I see a lot of people, as I could pull the answers up for that last one, this is what we thought. We had 0.04, we had 0.04. Those were the same answer, right? We had somebody that put 3. We had somebody that put 0.31. That person was just basically putting the amount that they would pay per ounce for if they went to Kroger. Right, guys? And then we have 2 people that we had 4 and then we had 0.4. So you've got to remember when you're subtracting, guys, this is an elementary kind of skill. Okay, I don't expect you guys to line this up and actually do the subtraction. I wouldn't expect you to do that because I feel like you guys can do 35 cents minus 31 cents. But you can't just all of a sudden say, oh, that's just 4 cents. Or you can't say, oh, that's 0.4 cents. You have to understand that when we're talking about single-digit cents, we're talking about the hundreds. Okay? So that's why if you need to do this, it might not be a bad idea. 5 minus 1 is 4. 3 minus 3 is 0. And 0. So that's the amount of money. 0 and 4 hundredths. Or in this case, 4 pennies. Right, guys?
Yeah.
What those people were describing here, you 3 people, you were describing either $4 for that one, or you were talking about 40 cents. There certainly wasn't a 40-cent difference between those 2 cereals. Everybody got that? Okay, learning target number 9, right here, conversions. Should have been very easy. If you found it very hard, then you better go home and take a look at it. It was the 13-minute video from 2 nights ago. Okay? So, this is how we wanted it done. Quit packing up. That irritates me. You know that. You should all know that. It's rude. Thank you. All right, now, I know that I'm comparing yards to inches. So again, everything comes back to putting labels on before we ever put any numbers on there. Okay? Now, just so you guys know, all the conversions will be given to you on the test. So they're all there. All you got to do is realize that the first ratio, that is your fake ratio. That is the conversion ratio, which I know 1 yard is 36 inches. Okay? Then I know, I look at what they gave me. They gave me 3. What am I doing to go from 1 to 3? So what do I got to do to 36? Multiply by 3, 108 inches. Okay? Next one. I know that I'm comparing inches to feet. Inches to feet. I know up here it says there are 12 inches in 1 foot. It's giving me 120 inches. You could cross multiply and divide, but I think it's pretty easy to see that I'm multiplying by 10. So that means I got to multiply this by 10. So that's going to give me 10 feet. Here, I know that I'm comparing pints to quarts. Pints to quarts. Okay, the fake ratio is that I know that there are 2 pints in every 1 quart, and I look at my real information, which is here, which is times 8 times 8. That means that there are 8 quarts in 16 pints. All right, so this is learning target number 1. So if you're struggling with this, well, it's 1 and 2, but it's more 1. Okay. If you're struggling with learning target 1, please go back and watch the learning target 1 video. Okay, go back and take a look at it. It's not hard. It's just been a while. It's been over 3 weeks probably since we've done these the first time. It's been a long chapter. Okay. So when you do this though, you're basically trying to scale, and you're trying to figure out a number that 10 can become, but then that number has to also be able to become 15. When we're talking about numbers becoming numbers, we're talking about using factors, specifically common factors. Okay, when you scale, when you use scaling, you're going to try to identify a common factor. So what would be a common factor of both 10 and 15? Yeah? 2.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. What?
What would be a common factor of both 10 and 15?
Oh,
3 is not a factor of 10.
I'm sorry.
Alright? It would be 5 would be perfect, right? And then I know that if I'm taking my cans of corn and I am dividing them by 2, wouldn't that mean I would divide my cost by 2? Guys? Okay. Then I know then what am I doing to my cans of corn to go from 5 to 15? Times 3. So what do I got to do to my cost? Times 3, which would be 6. Okay. This one here, we'll just do it together. Okay. I need to figure out something I can scale to. Now, before I even go any further, I see that they both end in 5. So can I just go ahead and scale to 5? Can I just scale to 5? So then I know, okay, I'm dividing by 5. So I need to divide my height in inches by 5. So that means the ratio is 5 to 2. What am I doing to go from 5 to 1 to 5? Times 21. So what do I got to do to my 2?
Times 21.
That's going to give you 42. So there's your answer. Okay?